Hey, day two, fireside chat.
Just noticed for sure.
Yesterday kicking it off, I asked, Matt Coad and, I didn't ask Chris Dan, but Keith O'Brien, tell us a little bit about yourself, because we know everybody. I mean, we tend to know our teams pretty well, and like Jen was you lettered in like 9 sports in high school?
She played 7.
7 sports. Dwayne is a sock fanatic, and Jake loves video and, is amazing. Glenn has a drone. And we started talking about how intimate our company is. So we want to know a little bit about you, and you're a gamer. Xbox.
You forgot Casey used to be the ping pong champion.
Yeah, and Casey gave up ping pong to manicure his beard.
Hey, that's close to the truth.
But when we did that, so he's a gamer, Xbox, loves basketball, loves LeBron James. He's a guy that likes to work with his hands and a tool belt. He's right. We didn't get a chance to ask Chris the question. If your family's gone and you're not at work, what do you do? Where do you do it? Who do you do it with?
I'm very much a tech guy, so one of the things that I've got right into is automating my home. So I've got a Raspberry Pi that runs everything, so the blinds open and close, and it sets if you're coming in, and it will, turn lights on at different parts of the day, and if you're not home, not turn them on, and make feel the heat driving home, detecting you're on the way home, etc. To get the mail all the time. I think of cool new ideas to do. Not all of them work. Some of them morally piss my wife off, but why can't you just walk up and press a button?
My husband's doing the same thing to my home, and I don't know how to work anything.
Where's the old remote?
Yeah.
But it's great fun. I do really enjoy that. Lots of time spent on that hobby, and then of course the other thing I'm into is sailing. Very competitive on that at the moment. I'm not training for any particular. Instead I'm learning to wingboard, which is one of those oil boards where you hold the sails and skim on the water fast. And that's probably the highest barrier to entry thing that I've ever learned. Realizing how old I am.
As a sailor, what's your biggest accomplishment?
But probably the standout for me is 2015 winning World Championship, which was a lot.
World Championship.
And then in January this year, we had a World Championship back in Melbourne, hometown. Sort of once in a lifetime thing to have it at my hometown. And so I got back together with one of my sailing friends, and we trained for 9 months leading up to January. We did really well, so we ended up on the podium. Coming into last race, 1 point behind first, and it was a 3-way showdown for that last race. High pressure. So I can honestly say that we choked. Yeah, it was one of those classic chokes. So we ended up third. But we're the only amateur on the podium. So
Do you think being at home put more pressure on you, and that if you were away, you might have been more free and might not have so?
Yeah, exactly. I think you summed it up there. So home, obviously the home crowd cheering for you, a lot of expectation, a lot of training from previous world championship doing this. And it's amazing the way the brain works when you look back. There's a clear choke.
All right, it happens to the best of us, right? Hey, I want to do more of this throughout. Yesterday it was one-sided, and it may be one-sided, maybe a little bit today, but I did encourage, and I want to encourage you three taking 3 weeks away from your families, away from the office, and coming overseas and spending time in Portland, here, New Jersey with our partners, Miami with Eco, and building up the channel. I want you guys to get as much value out of being with us as possible. So they're going to ask us questions too. And for those that, like I said, for those that didn't listen, we have three really sharp guys up here, our largest and best partner. And Chris has brought his head of self-hosted software and head of cloud to kind of come together with us, continue to build the best product offering in the world for that matter. And, let's get after them. Let's get after them with our questions about MF to MFS to Hive, future products, innovation. I mean, I don't think any of us, if we don't innovate the way we engage with partners, it's going to get stale, and they're going to look for somebody else that is innovative, that is engaging, that is attractive, that is motivated, and things of that nature. And who was it that said Lysoft is hungry? A competitor's hungry. Let's not lose that hunger. So as we're here today, and if we talk for 2 hours again and I start drooling, we have a problem. But I'm going to try to say something. I want you guys to engage too, or you are going to get tired. Our attention span's not 2 hours. I promise you that. So if you need to chime in and ask a question remote, please do that. If you're sitting in the front row, you might get picked on, Grayson. And if you're in the back row, for sure, we're going to call on you. All right. And then for those that weren't here, Matt, will you start and kind of give a brief intro again, and then we'll kind of go down the list or the row.
Yeah, sure. Good day, everyone. Matt Coad. So I've been at PaperCut for coming up on 3 years. Before that, I was working in an OEM/reseller for 14 years. So I'm managing their solutions business. So did a lot of capture, accounts payable automation, document management, e-forms, all the typical things that resellers and OEMs do. And been around PaperCut a long time. Met Chris when you're about 5 staff, I think. First met, let him borrow a copier so he can build his first embedded. So full soul, lifted a copier up those terrible stairs at Glen Waverley.
We all had to borrow a copy yourself. We still do, matter of fact.
So yeah, I've probably installed MF over my career more than 500 times at customers. We used to have competitions.
I called BS on that, by the way. You said that yesterday. I don't think you installed 500 licenses.
I reckon definitely. We used to have competitions. When you think about MF and It Just Works, we used to have competitions of how many installs you could do in one day. Back when installs weren't remote, and you had to drive from customer to customer. One of our team once did 5 MF installs in one day. So just showing that it just works, you hit next, and you're up and running. It was what we loved about it from day one, the first time. It's me.
Yes. You're next. Big guy. Introduce myself, right? Okay, so I think most of you, is anyone not? Am I not there? But yeah, Jake, have you ever, besides this week, have you met Chris before? See, there's somebody here.
Brian,
Yeah, Brian, there's Brian.
yeah, CEO, co-founder, original techie. What do I do? I tend to poke my nose into every bit of the business. So,
And if you talk to anyone on your team, they'll tell you that.
Us in Canada.
We have some letter.
Yeah.
You were representing well yesterday.
Because I've grown up with PaperCut, I tend to know everything and have a general and genuine interest in anything. It doesn't matter if it's the way sales works or channel relationships or complicated code or relationships with the OEMs. I always had. So I think it's one of my superpowers and really safely across everything. At the moment, I'm probably spending a bit of a lot of time on making sure that we're aligned around strategy aligned. It's really important. And then particularly, I think as we go into cloud, we're going through a new phase of evolution of our business. I think the past 7 years or so, it's been operational efficiency and it's been the Swiss Army knife. And the reality is the industry is changing a lot now with the advent of cloud. And you've got new bridging protocols arriving, etc. With Windows bridging, and other things. So we're into a changed environment where innovation will become so really investing a lot into building those relationships in with the Japanese OEMs. Again, so it's maybe more at an on-code level, local on how to do sales best. But now as we go into new print stack, new technology, we've really got to get back to very similar to what we were in the early embedded days. We were constantly working with the factories in Japan, APIs, checkers. So we'll be leading a lot into that over the next 6 months or so. So that's going to be a focus for me, including some trips into Japan. And we really want to make sure that through these technology transitions, that PaperCut is a dominant player in the new print stack technology. And we're not letting Microsoft look in the OEMs to dictating the way print works, because I think, unfortunately, the Japanese OEMs tend to follow. And Microsoft have got a habit of creating monopoly and control, and will undoubtedly try to position you as a print to have a very advantage through that transition. So we need to work hard to so that's going to be a focus for the next couple of months.
I heard you guys were buying Toshiba. Is there any truth to that?
Buying to
Pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Roll them all up, right? Roll them all up.
Okay. Keith?
Actually, yeah, that reminds me. Actually, I launched a Toshiba phone in the UK back in 2004. Toshiba's first ever clamshell feature phone was a smartphone, and it had the music controls on the outside. It's trying to be like an iPhone. And anyway, I've always been building products. I love building products. I love taking new technology and working out how can we solve problems for people that makes their lives better. Crazily thinking back, I kind of started my career building unified messaging platform we launched in Europe, where you could have emails sent to a single email address, faxes, voicemails, all go into the one inbox, and that one inbox could be read out to you over your mobile phone. You could then record a voice message that would get encoded as a WAV file and emailed back as a reply. That can take off, but good fun nonetheless.
Too early.
That's the thing, way too early. Did mobile instant messaging in 2002, which is pretty much WhatsApp before it is now. But yeah, so loads of my career working on building new products. As I mentioned yesterday, I left the corporate world in 2010 when I left Samsung to run a startup that we later sold. Spent the last 6 years prior to PaperCut working on cloud software that was replacing the server equivalent software for that business, and that business ran Harley Davidson. And so there's a great deal of similarity between what I'm doing now and what I did then, in that we're working out how to move a customer base from a very, very strong server-based product into a slightly differently positioned cloud-based product. It's a classic dilemma. How do you move customers from one to the other when there's a 20-year engineering difference between the two? And so, it's a fascinating challenge to work out what do people need now versus what did people need in the past. And that's what we spend a lot of time debating, and we work out how to sequence and prioritize the work that the hundreds or so people at PaperCut product with their heart and heads in.
There's a lot of history between our companies and within the ecosystem with PaperCut. There used to be a question that it was always proposed to us, like, what is our secret sauce? And you two, I think, what'd you say, 3 years and 2 years or something like that? Coming up on 2 years and 75 days. What's the secret sauce at PaperCut? What do you guys consider the secret sauce for PaperCut? Number one, IDC, market share. I think you've got a lot of really great partners. What do you think the secret sauce is? Why is it so successful?
I think the way I like to describe it, when people ask me what's PaperCut like, coming from an OEM to a PaperCut, I said the culture is actually what it looks like from the outside. A lot of places that you hear a message of culture, and we actually believe it and live it every single day. And I think that drives people to have an ownership of where they work. It's not just a job. And I think that really is, for me, is the secret sauce.
Yeah, it's the people. It's an awesome place to work. I think we've got a really good mix of experience across different technologies and different backgrounds. Some who understand the channel, some who don't, who are learning it. But I think people turn up with passion every single day. There are very few people who rock in at 9 and walk out at 5. There's so much commitment and passion. People are
Smiling.
working in Australia, you have to spend a great deal of time outside of the normal working hours, in the evenings, in the very early morning, and people don't even bat an eye. They're so proud of what they do that they're happy to do whatever is needed to do. Yeah, it's people and passion.
We see any change in 26 years where
Huge amount of change, but I suppose you probably ask me this question in front of everyone every time I come, right? And it's probably a different answer every time. Hopefully you're writing them all down, so remind me over the years. One of the things I think is really important at the moment, which is, secret sauce is never one thing, it's always one thing. It's woven, right? And life can be easy, wouldn't it? The reality is it's made up in lots of different things. And one of the things that I'm really sort of focusing on at the moment is the concept of learning culture, because I think really when you look at it, that's been the common theme for everything that we've done. We've always been willing to try something new. And I think we're in a part of the market now where it's transitioning and it's going to be the skill that we need to lean on most. And obviously we get really good at doing things. So actually unlearning something can be quite hard. And I actually think that's what, when you learn something so much, then you have to change. It's really, really hard. And I think that's the phase that we're going through now. It's that we've learned how to sell PaperCut NN really well. And now with new print stack changes coming, cloud changes coming, just changing the market in general. We're having to unlearn a bit of the way we do it, relearn some things. But when I think about what I see the source is, that's what we love. We really love learning. I think it actually makes life fun. Challenge.
good answer. I think
Josh, what's yours?
with that,
It's a great question.
that's a great question. You answered it well. I mean, I don't think we're who we are without our people. Kind of obvious, but
What type you got?
our people. Our people. If you look at our people and who they attract and how their message is received and things of that nature, it speaks for itself. We've got somehow or another we attracted a great partner in you guys. Somehow or another we've got great resellers in almost every state in the U.S., Canada, Latin America. We enjoy each one of our ASC partners. I think we respect them, and God willing, they respect us. And we're always trying to learn from them, and they're trying to learn from us. And we do that with, the message of one ACDI. We're trying to learn from each one of our teammates. But we never stop. I'll challenge that we're learning to sell high. But, I don't want to force people to leave a good product. I understand that the software stacks are changing and things of that nature, and it's going to complement some entities more than others. We just got to be able to identify that and make sure that we're not stuck with the 900 resellers that are active with us today versus the other 300 to 600 that aren't active right now that would love to have a lightweight cloud product that can expand. And we just need to make sure that we're looking in all different areas, working with all different partners. And we are going to find new ones. And I think we probably have 50 or 60 that signed up this year that are new. Some we think are small because they've never bought from us, and they could be $200 million companies that just haven't really focused on print and that are diversified. So our people, our partners, our knowledge, our experience, our backgrounds, commitment. All of that rolled into one. All right, everybody's glazed over. Let's go. Y'all ready? All right.
30 minutes already?
I know, 28 minutes.
That was a quick intro.
Hey, real quick, I know everybody remote, and I'm trying to yell so you can hear me. Everyone remote, I mean, at least here we can see each other. You guys are multitasking. I'm sure I would be. And I want to go to you right now. Is there anybody remote that wants to ask something, wants to turn their camera on and say hi to the team? Alec is typing. He probably riding his mountain bike. You guys headphones on. Just don't show us your spandex. She's back there.
She's taking notes.
There's a demerit.
That's the fun. We just updated our training module.
Hey, Martin, how many birds do you have right now?
In the
Fostering
house
any birds?
or outside? I have 2 foster birds.
That was by design.
That's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
That's a good job. Proud of you. You're doing great work up there. We can't hear you. I'm kidding. Oh, we can't. We're done. So Eric. Okay.
I did have a question.
Let's go.
So the global entitlement server, I love that it's, plugged up kind of one hole in the licensing, dike as it were, in that, customers that are, abusing the system and perhaps, they purchase 10 devices and they're using 10 devices at one location and 10 devices at another location are no longer going to be able to do that. But it has introduced some, I guess, challenges, probably the best way of putting it. Customers that are using high availability, of which we have a number in Canada, or customers that have multiple locations that are using the same license in multiple locations because they don't have a WAN and they've got like print deploy or, other features. That's caused an issue, as well as so when is that going to be? I guess I have 3 questions as far as the global entitlement server is, when is there going to be a way for high availability customers and customers with disparate networks to be able to use version 24 or above? When will there be a way for customers that do not have their application server on the internet? So a lot of FedGov will have their PaperCut, not having access to the internet. So currently there is no offline registration for 24. And 3, it's introduced another issue as far as licensing goes, in that, now we're checking to make sure that they haven't gone over their device count. But it is a device count and not by manufacturer anymore. It seems it is just by, blank device count. So customers can move between manufacturers, even though we tell them that, they have to pay to swap from one manufacturer to another. And it is, detailed somewhere in the EULA. But if an IT person were to go and, purchase a new device by another manufacturer, they could go and register it. And, they may not even realize they're doing anything wrong, that, they wouldn't have to pay the swap fee. Are there plans to fix that new licensing vulnerability?
Yep, I can answer all 3 of those. So I think it's the biggest change ever, PaperCut licensing, that I think in the history of the business, probably, Chris, that was made. Chris was suitably nervous and remotely nervous through this whole thing about the changes we made. But I think we've had a lot of I think we've learned one thing: tell customers not to upgrade to a version, and they seem to upgrade faster. We're at about 15% of total customers have moved to a 24 release. And we saw a spike in ticket volume for a lot of the reasons Martin's talked about there. It's starting to shift down. In terms of the first one, in terms of HA and offline activation, that'll be in the October maintenance release for MF. So it'll be mid-October is what we're targeting for that release. So HA will just be coming the feature. There won't be anything additional to do. For offline activation, the way that's going to work is the customer will give us their server ID and their license file or their activation code, depending if they're MFS or a perpetual customer. you'll be able to the reseller will be able to self-serve an offline activation in the partner portal. So they'll take those two. There'll be a new page similar to where you generate trials and NFRs. So generate an offline activation. That'll actually create a license file, even if they're a subscription customer. But when they install that license file, it'll actually install an offline version of their entitlement and then activate the server. So there'll be no new thing they have to do. It'll just be, hey, this customer, install this license file, and then you'll be activated offline. Now, obviously, if they've got multiple servers, we'll need to do each server individually because they won't be talking back. And if they ever come back online, it'll just activate back and do a check on all the servers it knows about and determine what they're using. So both of those, Martin, coming in October release, so not too far away. In terms of the brand usage, that is something that is coming out on the 12th of September, so the September release. So what we're doing is we're introducing a brand usage table in product. So that will be, if the customer is on subscription, it'll show them the brand usage, but they'll obviously never have every overage because they've got a generic entitlement, but they'll still be able to see in the UI what brands they're using and how many MFTs, how many SFPs. If they're a perpetual customer and they're using the wrong brand, the table will be displayed and it'll be in red to show them where they're using the wrong brand. So you bought 5 Xeroxes, you're using 10 Xeroxes, it's bright red there. You're looking to add more messages in the UI to warn them. We're not going to do any enforcement on that. It's just a warning. The longer term plan then is to also, we're taking that data and feeding that back to the entitlement server. And our operations team are looking long term. How do we bring that information available in our partner portal to show our resellers and our AECs what a customer's actually using as well. So yeah, so 12th of September is the MR. There'll be a demo of the UI in the next ASC drop-in. The teams will be presenting that to you guys as well.
So to follow up on that just a minute, Chris, at this point, would you ever see the perpetual model just being a mimic of the subscription and just going device instead of buckets and devices? Or we're at a point that I know you're going to do all this behind the scenes checkups, operations, and a lot of manpower to figure out because you're not going to enforce nothing. So why not just go, okay, perpetual is device only, fixed our problem at a different price point?
Well, I think a couple of things. We heard loud and clear from our partners that that was the biggest point of difference for moving to subscription from a selling standpoint, to say one of the reasons to move to subscription was to not have to worry about device swap fees moving forward. So hearing that, we don't want to drop that away and remove that value. We need to have a specific difference between perpetual and subscription moving forward to encourage customers to move. So anything that encourages to move, we want to keep.
I've had 3 end users call us out. Why that are perpetual, large global customers saying, why do you need to know my device brand? Version 24 doesn't matter. I've had an email directly from an end user to us bypassing the dealer going, why is the dealer asking me this? So if it's not enforceable, you're not worried about it, you know what I mean? And technically they can devise anything. I think we have this gray area that customers are challenging us.
Yeah.
I've had 3 of them. I don't know if anybody else, but they're finding out themselves.
We were taken by surprise a little bit about how much customers would react to this and how much the channel would react to not having the brand specific. We did go into it with eyes wide open, but we pivoted quickly when we realised this is going to become an issue moving forward. I guess it lends itself to the longer term question of, and I'll put a question back now. In terms of perpetual pricing, one day we'll retire that pricing. The question to this group is how far out should we be considering that, and what would be the impact of doing it? And should we consider potentially making it on request or to certain segments only?
You said how far out? How far out? Did you get rid of the
Monday.
I say it in the next 3 years.
Is it 3 years, but up to that 3 years, can they buy 60 months worth of perpetual? Or wait, that would be perpetual, so never mind, they would.
We should not abandon our education customers. There needs to be some kind of exception or whatever. We can't take these schools that have had PaperCut for this entire time, stayed up to date, paid attention, loved us, and then said, actually, you gotta repurchase this all over again, sorry. So we're gonna have to figure something out for like those customers, especially in the education space, because schools are gonna have servers for more than the next 3 years.
Yeah, no, look, we need to be mindful that we've always been a big fan of choice in customers. It's been our point of differentiation, whether it comes to brands, the operating system, or our hosting environments, and also having a global subscription that allows us to move around those licenses between our products, right? So that's in the interest of the customer. Likewise, we need to think about customers that have professional requirements. We hear lots of stories over the years, like in different regions. So in some European regions, there is different procurement rules around perpetual versus subscription. Because subscription, you're committing an organisation to an indefinite costs that vary over time, and a perpetual you're not very. So the procurement processes, and as has been pointed out to me, some of the systems, school purchasing systems, for example, haven't caught up with the common origins. Right now, I suspect that will happen over the next couple of weeks, and that's one of the reasons why we have to abandon perpetual to switch across because of that.
I like what you said about that, and with the unified pricing, I like that you have 5 free deployed zones. I think the method is really, let's give them all the reasons to move over to subscription, and then in 3 years, let's evaluate who is staying with perpetual, why, what their needs are, and then make a decision based off of those. Like, don't make decisions based off of customers that you can just entice to move over to unified with a couple of free points. Right.
And it's a 5-year decision for us, regardless, whatever we make the decision, right? So it won't be, hey, if we were ending perpetual, you have to say, hey, here's an announcement for net new coming in advance. You've got a year to purchase net new perpetual, which means it's actually a 6-year decision for us. We'll still allow people to buy 5 years of perpetual M&S, and then that will reduce over time to a point where in one day, in 6 years' time, potentially we're not supporting those customers. But there'll be no surprises. It'll be a very long-term plan when we go down that path. And if we go down that path, things might pivot back to perpetual, for example. So, yeah, I think definitely I agree with you as well. So we need to continue to add value to the subscription offering to show that there is a value difference between perpetual and subscription.
And then sort out just kind of the bottom, who is left, why, what those needs are, and then kind of curate an answer best for it.
Yeah, and I think it's you do for your customers with the talk track around. PaperCut's a big fan of that fan choice, and we're thinking of the customer through this transition. That's one of the reasons why we can't switch. Yeah, one thing that frustrates me over time products is and the industry's got a term for it now. Anyone ever heard the term in shitifications, right? So shitification is like I've noticed in Australia at least, and it's on Prime, they've got their user base, and they charge for Amazon Prime, and you get all the movies and things, and now they're putting ads on it, and they're making you pay extra to get the ads on, right?
Yeah.
They look for ways to monetize the user base. If it gets over time, they get further removed.
We call it shitification.
And shitification.
That's literally.
It's actually on Wikipedia.
Yeah. I think your one's better.
Yeah. I think we should redefine it.
I love Australia.
And yeah, it's an industry term, right? Because it happens, and we all see it happening, and we need to push against that. We're always going to be providing value to our customers. Always think about them.
Well, if you think about customer first or customer centric, the fact that people could stop paying M&S for MF and it continue to work, that's something that you guys have done. I know some of it might be technological, but that's the heart behind it. The fact that if they don't call us for support and they call PaperCut, even though they don't have M&S, PaperCut's going to support them. We're more than likely going to support them. So you've always had that as far as the brand of PaperCut, the customer first, customer centric.
Yeah, you want to make sure that the reality is it's like all relationships. When the relationships with an organisation, which we are, relationships change, right? So you don't want to burn a relationship because you have a new IT manager come in, or a new admin come in, and you have a whole opportunity there to review plenty of years of where I know someone is at school or something has went there M&S lapsed, and we win them back 6, 12 months, 2 years later, the new admin comes in. I'm all excited about this. I want to upgrade this server. Oh, it's all right. I've got to pay. That's fine. I'm excited about this. And you win the business back. And if you had a pissed off a customer or pissed off an IT manager or a procurement officer in that process, lost that. So it's that mindset of customers of the line. But yeah, never miss the opportunity for someone lapses to get that renewal. And I often tell the story about all the features we added, security landscape, the effort that we're putting into that. And that's where the value of the subscription goes. That's where your upgrade insurance goes. It's really to make sure that we are able to keep customers alive, continue to improve our software.
And I think for making that difference between perpetual and subscription, it's a carrot and stick model, right? We don't want to take things away from our perpetual customers that they have today. It's about adding new value to the subscription customers and not making them feel like we've taken something away they had yesterday.
Yeah. And with that, as long as we're going to have MF on-prem and MFS, to Alex's question up on the screen, do you see that you'll ever have that entitlement engine just turned off or to be able to take away features more so than we do today, like you're going to do for Hive? Will there be a kill switch ever with MF and MFS?
But for MF, it's there already. That's part of the entitlement server will stop the product from working. Now we're going to do this in a paper-cutting way, right? We'll have a bunch of ways to get customers up and running again by requesting from their partner, coming to you guys and actually saying, hey, I need a trial, I need a temporary subscription, I need something to sort out my agreement. But the day that the subscription expires, the product will stop working.
Is it in there now?
It's in there.
With MFS.
Yes. Yeah, perpetual obviously does not stop.
If it stops working, with Hive, is it there as well?
It is not there. It will come and it'll very much align with what we've got in MF. But what we are doing, if you're familiar with Hive or MF's access control feature, the admin's got the ability to push a message to the MFD that informs people that they cannot access the device outside of certain hours of the day, if that sort of thing. But we repurposed that and we've run an experiment in the UK because we found that some customers were taking advantage of the fact that if they stopped paying for Hive kept working. And so what we've done is we've given our tech services and support team the ability to put a message on the MFD that says, hey, this is an unlicensed software application and it will stop working soon. In order to give people advanced notice, so that to encourage the users to go to the administrator and say, hey, have you seen this? You might want to do something about it. And of course, this is kind of not the first thing we do. We, of course, work through our partners to reach out to the customer to make sure that they've been given plenty of opportunity to renew. But when we've done that and they haven't responded, then our tech services teams have tried this. They do have the opportunity, the ability to prevent anyone from using the device, but we don't want to use that option. But where we kind of warned them that stop working, 80% of those who stopped paying started paying again. So I guess a little experiment we're running to see if we can encourage people to be honest.
So there's always a balance. You want people to pay, but we also don't want to create something inadvertently. I know that you guys would know how many license mistakes are made. Most of the time by the dealer, sometimes by you, sometimes by us, sometimes by the customer. The reality is those mistakes lead to lockups, and those lockups can be extremely frustrating. So we want to have a gradual thing. It's one thing to get an annoying message. It's another thing for your system to stop working. And we've got to be really careful of locking devices because those devices, are maybe worth a lot more than our software. But imagine if You can't actually, if you didn't pay your subscriptions, you're electronic door lock. So they decided not to let you in your house. With this with you. So you've got to understand that we're often fronting the device and we don't want to have a lawsuit on our hand because we're locked out of an expensive device. So it's a balance. But we need to, as we move to subscription, we need to get a little bit stronger with our enforcement in a paper cutting way because you don't, unlike perpetual, we're hosting those servers, we're running those servers, they cost us money, and we've got to make sure that
Did you say when that MFS and how will have the?
So part of that is needing to move live to the same entitlement service, same global entitlement service as well. And once we've done that, then we can start to introduce the same behaviours. For MF, when all customer can have multiple subscriptions, and only when all subscriptions have expired is when a lockout will actually effectively occur. So if they had one device enabled, they still have the base functionality of PaperCut MF and can continue to use that for that one device, obviously, and everything that comes with that. But if they let everything lapse and they ignore all the warnings and they're not listening to their partner or speaking to them, the admin will be locked out of the UI, so they'll be able to log in and be locked to certain pages, very similar to when a trial expires, exactly the same. In fact, users won't be able to authenticate any end user authentication points. So whether that's the user client, the web portal, any other areas like that, print deploy will stop deploying. So it'll leave the last zone deployment that was there. So we're not going to delete the printers and leave them with nothing. And at the devices, we've got a bit more work to do, but what we'll do is we'll disable PaperCut functionality at the device at the embed and leave them with native functionality. So they'll still be able to log in. They won't be able to use print release or integrated scanning, but we'll still enforce quotas and we'll still enforce zero stop. They can photocopy and use native scanning, and they'll get a message that says, hey, your subscription has expired. You'll have limited functionality on this device. Now, if they want to get back up and running, probably in the December release, we're going to be introducing the ability for an in-product one-touch 7-day extension. So I missed all the messages. Nobody spoke to me. I changed my phone number. I turned off my email. I didn't realize this thing was going to expire. December. Yeah. Okay. Click a button. You've got 7 more days. You're up and running again to sort this out. The goal for that is to also at the same time ping the partner portal, which triggers a notification to the ASC and the partner and say, somebody's clicked this button. So you can spring into action and start working on that straight away. And obviously you'll still be able to say, yeah, my flash light. Yeah. And obviously you still be able to give that customer some sort of trial and all those usual things as well.
So that's what it's going to do. Yes. Do you have a time frame of when it's going to December? Yeah.
So all of that functionality I talked about is in the product in 24 today. So if a customer somehow had a 3-month subscription since we launched and they expire tomorrow, the functionality I just described is what they would see. Okay. The way the device is expired, we're making changes right now. The device will go into a disabled mode. Very similar to if someone does a 7-day grace period and doesn't license that device and it goes disabled, that's the functionality today. We're softening that in December, January to make it more friendly for the customer as well.
To get out of deal. Is that all going to be in the knowledge base or is it already in the knowledge base?
Still there. Okay. There in the subscriptions page, yeah. So it's detailed exactly what you can and can't do when a subscription expires. And we break it down between when all subscriptions expire or when only one subscription expires. Christian.
So today we can do. So it comes back on other conversations we had. So today, PaperCut Hive can do 10 direct print views. Is there a better sweet spot that you see? Not saying 100, but a better one, because most of the time that number does not work for most clients. Most of the time they're like, oh, I got 18 or I got 15 or I got 20 printers that I want to do direct print to. Is there a better sweet spot that think we can do with PaperCut Hive because of direct print queues.
Have you heard that or have you seen that as well from
Yeah,
other
we've
partners?
heard that. Yeah. I won't bore you with the reason why we ended up with that. It's a soft limit. Okay, so if you have someone who needs AT, get in touch. We can work out how to give you AT. And the reality is there's no limit on how many queues you can have. We can configure it quite simply. We haven't figured out how to charge for it or how much to charge for it. We've got print deploy. We don't want to replicate the same pricing mechanism or structure that print deploy has adopted. We also heard a little bit about print enablement. Chris talked yesterday about how we're not going to build or make print enablement a standalone product that's separate to Hive. It's going to be integral to Hive, but it will be something you can buy within Hive without buying everything that you currently buy in the print management product. A little bit different that is available for.
I think it's print deploy is a good example, right? Where we changed the pricing last year. There was some people saying, why did you do this? We got just as much negative feedback on the price that was too expensive that we got that it was too cheap. So it was customers saying it's too expensive, partners saying it was too cheap, right? So schools, for example, were saying, I just need 2 zones. I need one for teachers, one for students. Now I've got to pay $3,000 just to get the product plus M&S. And then we had another customer in EMEA that had managing 10,000 users on NG with 10,000 zones and paying $3,000 US at the same time. So the scale wasn't there. It wasn't fair for small customers and it wasn't fair for partners at the larger end. So we had to move to a model of print deploy where we could make it fairer for everyone, and obviously MFS making that available, extending that out. But I think for Hive, there is an opportunity to charge for printers, and maybe not just enablement for printers, but for overall enabling functionality on printers, whether that's mobile release, whether it's control, whether that's policies for enablement deployment of those printers. And yeah, that's the only reason there is a limit right now. So we don't end up recreating that print deploy environment.
I'm 100% for what you just said about print enablement for Hive. There's a value to that, right? We should go seek out what that value is.
We have to charge for it as well.
Absolutely.
The key difference between and Hive was in the NGNF days, they're hosting on their server. And we made a strategic decision, the value was betters. And we originally, if you remember, going back a long time, had a user-based cost.
Yes.
Right. And then the embedded cost. And then we removed the user-based cost of the majority, because really adding 100 HP printers on the site didn't cost us anything. When it's a cloud product, that costs. It's a bidding server cloud, we're processing all that data, all that printing. That's what is possible. So fundamentally, PaperCut, the cloud needs to be a per unit cost. And there can be different price point for that functionality. You leverage a full embedded at its price point. You use a light embedded at its price point. If you just do easy drive deployment, print tracking, it might be this price point. And we can move those points depending on the value you enable units, but it has to be a unit cost based on something. And what we chose at the cloud is that unit cost is the printer. Right? It's hard to speak to that simple concept. You can work out those units on that functionality.
We have done some initial modeling already. And we do have Print Logic obviously has set the standard for this, but they also charge per print queue, right? So yes. We don't want to go down that path. We want to charge per printer. And if you need a color and mono queue, Print Logic, you got to pay twice. So we've done some analysis of the market. We just haven't settled on the price point.
Yeah, and the increasing headwind of competition out there. Print Logic is one percent more, but this is a feature that I get requested quite often. Do you have a high in the sky time frame for this feature?
Yeah, we've started working on it.
Okay.
We've got, if you think about deploying print queue, you need a choice of Find Me and Direct. Be made available. We've got Find Me, we've got Direct. Both of those are there. What we don't have is the ability to choose who to give those cues to. And even though we've got a ton of stuff coming from August 3rd, we've actually, and the teams are busy on the features contained in that release, we've already started on designing and developing a print enablement style feature. So I'd hope that we can get something to market. I'm going to say something because it won't be printable. Okay, right. It will not be print deploy in the cloud. You know, it might be one there, but we'll get something to market before the end. So that's the target.
Right.
I
understand.
Well,
End of the year, I heard.
Yeah.
Put that on
Hey,
board.
real quick, Nasir, Glenn, Corey, any other PSC project coordinators that are in here, when you're doing installs, I mean, do you ever hear like a customer insinuate that they wish they had more or less or different setup? I mean, have y'all, based on the conversation we're having now, anything during the install that maybe we don't hear on the front end of a sale or a solutions architect doesn't hear that you guys hear from like the perspective of the end user, like, oh, I thought it was going to do that, or I thought it was going to do this, or wish I had more or less, or anything that you guys can inject this conversation, because a lot of times, you know, we're not here until after the fact, but now we got this group here.
We do, it really depends on the environment. A lot of this kind of discussion will happen in pre-sale. So when it's happening on, we get it on the post-sale, like, a solution architect, they sell. But we have any back, we share back with the sales team.
Okay.
Welcome to each other, you know.
So pre-sales, they're doing a great job now. Used to, they'd talk, the customer would say, I don't even know what I got. What is it?
It is much better.
Yeah.
I said it yesterday and I know that's a huge basis, so I'll just reiterate the story again. So sorry for those boring on trying to tell you. But hopefully this might give you something that you can talk to dealers and customers. So with the modern print stack coming out, drivers are going away. But it's going to be a lot less value on drive deployment. So, and you can sort of see that. You can sort of see Printer Logic trying to become a print management software as quickly as possible. Because that bonus is going to be terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, they're trying, right? Because that driver value is going to disappear. There's still going to be a need to push out print queues, right? And we want to make sure we're doing that. So there's going to be a little bit of a spike in complexity and the value, that then it will normalize down. Pushing out printers is not going to be a real big important thing to people solve at some point, because Intune will do it and other things will do it, right? What we want to do is, while that print stack comes out, have a good print enablement product. We want to make sure we've got a good product during that transition, where it is complicated, but then make sure we've got the high value features on top, print management features on top, right? So we'll have the drive deployment functionality in PaperCut and a per printer based pricing. The other aspect that we say is, why did we not do this earlier? A lot of it is because we're trying to mature the platform and get the tech right. When we first started out, we had one feature we liked, and secure print base, that was it. So you couldn't have the NS style. You could start with passive tracking. You could just have reporting. You can do it for mobile printing, and some people just use NF for mobile printing, right? Effectively, or Chromebook printing. Effectively, they're just using mobility print. But you know, they want pay and have support. They're not using most of the features. Now we've got all that functionality in Hive. We have Chromebook, we have mobile, we've got drive deployment. Yes, we can put groups and zones in. But we've got that base. We can move to what we're calling our start with project. We can start with any feature. So during the install process, it's not going to force you to set up a binding queue. It's not going to force you to have a particular set of functionality. And you'll be able to select that value to start with, which will make it easier for you to bring Hive into a customer base. Very much like it is with NF, where they might level up features over time. So hopefully that'll be a significant change for us, and that's part of our phase one of our strategy platform is to get that onboarding experience. SSO is a really key part of that, and that's what you'll see dropped in the August release.
I think when Chris says drivers will go away, he's very strong on that. I'm a believer that they'll stay around for multiple years still. But I think our opportunity is the transition, right? And so you're going to have those customers who say, "You Windows security thing, I'm turning that on day one. Doesn't work with PaperCut." Right? And then they'll be the ones moving to the driverless IPP printing. And then you'll have customers that say, "Hey, I've got managed devices where I want to enable that, but I've got BYOD devices where I have no control over that." So how do we actually enable all of those users to print regardless of what print technology is possible? Well, that's a big opportunity for all of us too.
So for the print stack changes, I've heard you guys mention a lot of what Microsoft is doing, but for cups, the IPP everywhere, I'm guessing that's also part of the plan.
Yeah, Cups is also trying to move very much to driverless, right? And you see, effectively, you've got Cups running on Apple phones, right? And there's no drivers on phones. And then also in some of the environment, like in Board 2, they're bringing in what they call stats, which is a very strong sandbox environment for security reasons, which makes it awfully hard for local code to execute drivers. So we are seeing a fundamental shift, and we'll make sure one of the big advantages is we're in the working groups, we're heavily watching what the operating systems are doing, trying to stay ahead of the curve. And we've got a big advantage in that Hive has its own print stack. We have written our own IPP protocol stack, so we're able to send sample bookings to be able to go and chase these big environments. It's great.
The interesting thing we've seen in recent weeks is that the introduction of ARM-based Windows devices, these AI PCs, they're calling them, and there are no drivers yet from any OEM that we can find on the market. So they're heavily reliant on IPP class drivers as well. We are scurrying to make sure that everything's working across all those. I think that the Hive team are pretty close to getting a release out. On MF, we've got things like Ghost Trap that is being updated, and user clients making sure they're working the emulation layer. So you have that. I went looking at all the websites of all the OEMs to see if they even had a notice about ARM support for drivers, and there was literally just crickets. There was nothing whatsoever. So maybe they're going to use that as a way to pivot directly to the new bond.
Yeah, Hive and mobility print might be the way that a lot of these the only way these systems print. So we're in an opportunity to actually help a lot of education customers solve a lot of these problems. Equally, when the new bond print stack comes out, we might be a key to actually enable them through that transition. With all these changes, it can be frustrating, right? But we see it as actually presenting opportunities for these opportunities and value to customers.
You guys, can you read Danilo's question on the screen? Around AI.
Before we jump to that, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Just on the subject of print enablement and deployment, help us to understand how often you encounter that type of opportunity and what a solution to that might look like. Anyone got any input?
To the print enablement opportunities. Say a large percentage of the cloud-based opportunities I see today are very often just print enablement, right? Just for, let's just say, the printer logic on it without the print management side, right? Like they're not necessarily looking for secure print or scanning or anything else. They just need print ability to push queues, drivers out today. What percentage of the request I get, I don't know, but it's a fair enough number that it's a thing to me. I wrote it down as something to talk to you guys about today. So.
Is that direct printing environments, or they're looking for secure release private?
Well, I would say quite often it is just print enablement with direct print, right? It doesn't. Now, sometimes certainly secure print is needed, but certainly not all the time.
And when you say print enablement, what is the value they're looking for over what, say, tune or group policies?
I mean, not everybody leverages Intune and policies. They're looking for a turnkey SaaS solution is what they're looking for.
Yeah, right. So if you don't use Intune or group policy, you're just looking for a single solution. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and that's very much what shows should be interfaces. But the idea is to select the queue, a direct queue in Hive and say, make it available to every user, make it available to this group of users, or if a laptop is in this particular subnet or network range, install this. Yes. So you've got movement between offices. It's simple. It's not as complicated as ZNet, but just that user group and network, pre-drive targeting. I think it's going to be big.
I mean, I got a call from a dealer last week, asked me if there was any way we could host print deploy for them. Because that's all they needed.
Let's tell Greg we're going to do it.
No, I've had that conversation before, Josh. It didn't work out very well.
AI question.
I spoke to one of the mega dealers that in the US. And I think if we're chasing net new licenses, his comment, and this is a mega dealer that doesn't work with us, but in the conversation as far as the number one solution that they're selling and the volume of it, it had shifted a little bit because a lot of the accounts they're dealing with were looking for simply print enabled. And then so you could look at that as like the lead in and try to expand, but that was kind of opened my eyes to what's out there coming from a dealer that's $400 or $500 million size and revenue.
Last year I was on a call with Rich, and we had one of your dealers basically saying we have 300,000 unmanaged printers that we want to sell them in MPS on top of, and they were begging us for them not to cycle printer logic at the time. So there's that opportunity.
And you don't have to make that choice, but if you did, print enablement or shared account.
Print enablement.
Yeah.
Print enablement.
Yeah.
Print enablement.
Show hands with print enablement.
Virtual hands too.
We can still buy groups.
Virtual
We can
hands?
still do- But hold on, not shared accounts. You can still build groups.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in the cloud space,
Was there any shared account? Hands? One?
Hey, does the remote team know what we're doing right now?
I mean,
Would you rather have shared accounts?
Jenny?
For enablement?
I'll see Jenny.
Let's try to get on there, actually.
Print enablement, print enablement.
That's me.
Okay, that's Meg.
I don't even think
Gordon?
I need to unmute for that one.
No, you didn't, you didn't. We've heard you loud and clear.
And education, like shared accounts is big in education and legal, but what are the other components of payment gateways for education without integrations in the billing system? I think it's a small splash versus print enablement, because we're looking at potentially larger customers in there.
Every company. Yes. Something. We've got to get into that education as I mentioned. I think quotas on their own sends a very big message. The shared account is a layer on top. But every company.
We'll be able to vet this out next week.
Yeah.
Here's.
I bet they'll probably say.
It's a great question.
Okay.
So in Hive today, we can make groups for black and white and color. Coming August 30th, we can make groups by cost. Right? You can say this half of the room is charged $1, Page this half $2, right? So in your
By
cost,
printer, yes, by group, yeah.
so by printer, because you can make a profile.
Yes.
But that's by printer, not people.
That's right.
So when do you think Hive can, at least, I can go into Hive and say, these people are part of this group, like, let me create a group. I'm not syncing a group, not do the part, but just allow me to tag or create groups. Because a lot of your real estate companies, which is a big vertical with Hive, each location gets charged differently. And right now it's a manual process for a lot of our real estate people. but
So I think,
tag them or group them
yeah,
manually.
so we've got to, so this is purely introducing a third printer, cost profile in the next release. To get the print enablement functionality, we need true proper groups in, because we need to be able to target groups for, printers to groups, as well as people, right? We really only have some value when we have groups in there, we have members in there. So that will, be the primary aspect to follow on that. When we add sort of the direct printing queues and groups deployment, then it makes sense to potentially put on what's called an output, an input queue cost. So MS, you've really got two costs in there. You've got the cost of the end device, and you've got the cost of the polymer queue that comes in. In the background, they're working on the ability to do that, so you'd be effectively able to have different queues in costs, not just a per printer cost.
So by the end of the year, we'll have groups.
Yeah, most definitely.
Sorry about that. Well, make sure that on the
If most definitely enablement.
Most definitely.
Yeah. You got it.
Well, that's too low. Most definitely.
We can't do printing that.
No, you can't get
Don't ever let him get behind.
In Chris's defense, it's on the roadmap, so.
Thanks, man.
Hey, let's get to Daniela's question real quick.
No.
Chris, have you read that about AI?
It's scroll off the screen a little bit.
Scroll up a little bit on the.
Just hope to include AI analysis suggestions for environment managers. Or environment managers, this, for example, by an SMMP and AI could suggest the client or a new shared queue for unmanaged devices, or something similar. So yeah, I'm a big fan of AI. Everyone knows I'm promoting that across the business, but I also want us to be pragmatic. I don't want us to get on the hype curve at icky featured, when we've got fundamental things like groups and queue deployment and quotas missing, right? So we have to be pragmatic. But there's no doubt that there's interest in there. Now we have our Constructible coming up. That's our hackathon, that we do a 2-day event a couple of times a year. We haven't done that in a while, and I'm pushing themes. I'm seeding for AI related ideas, anything from imagine going into PaperCut and clicking on the print script, and rather than importing a recipe, you could just give a description or write the script for you. I've got some working code as a personal project that does AI form extraction on a OCR document. You just provide a JSON output that you want from that document, and it takes all the text out of it. It gets it, puts names, addresses, invoice numbers, it'll classifications of agencies and stuff, right? So there's lots of features that we're playing with, and we're looking at ways to surface them in a real way that's of value, not a gimmicky way. So I think we've got some constructive things, but we've got laser like focus on baseline at the moment, the features that you wish we have, before we start dangling too many AI excitements through.
I'm gonna say, instead of giving that to the customers, give it to us, let us charge for it. So like the creating like the scripts or like the custom creation stuff, we should just charge for those creations and have a tool to make it work.
Sorry, like a tool to allow partners to create it rather than.
To the customer directly.
Yeah, no, definitely that's an option. Maybe that's a faster path to market, right? So maybe I can suggest that for the Constructible project as we can make a tool for our support teams. We can get that funding.
Because we custom create scripts all the time, like for our pop-ups and stuff, and so that would give us a lot more options and like what we're able to do.
Yeah.
And that might be better coming from us anyway.
Yeah, no, that's where
Take it to market.
I'll put that on there. Constructible. I'm happy with that.
What we don't want to do is see a lot of products just effectively rebranding ChatGPT and sticking in their product.
Yeah, and then lifting the AI box. I don't want to be that sort of company. I want to do AI features with that. But yeah, I like that.
I got two communication questions, one for each product. So I'll start with what I feel like is the easier one with Keith. PaperCut MF, we have a Find My MFD page that works really well to tell us which ones are compatible. Can we add the Hive tags or the Hive full embed, light embed tag to that page, or create a Find My MFD page for Hive?
Well, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Politician.
Yeah, look, we've been looking at this a lot lately. The MF page is not updated regularly. It's a rich list of supported devices, yes, but is it a complete list? No. So we're going to work out if we do it for Hive, how do we do it? How do we keep it up to date? How do we make it complete? Would it be better for us to talk about supported SDKs instead of devices that we can do? That's what we intend to do. So we've got a new page going live soon. It's being built at the moment, where the current MF page will coexist next to a Hive page. There'll be a toggle at the top, Hive or MF, and the Hive page is going to list supported SDKs as a first enhancement to that page. And then we're going to measure the impact. We're going to see, does that satisfy reseller demand for the knowledge that they would get from looking for a supported device on MF? If it doesn't, then we'll have to look at what else we can do. But it's really a test, measure, learn.
It's a very important page.
Right. Yeah, I know.
It is.
I know what you're saying, just the 5 lines of code solution for this sort of environment. I just want to test whether it's useful. It's the chance to laugh. But we've got a huge amount of data with Hive. We know what brand is installed, how many print shops it's putting on. I'm just wondering if it's worth building a tool that says, okay, if we have a particular brand, and if we have more than 5 copies of the brand and put through more than 10 print shops, and it's installed across 5 devices, it's a very high likelihood that that device works. So, you know, I think something like that, just some simple metric, we've got that data to run a query right now to generate it. And I'm just wondering if we produced a tool that you could put in a model that tells you, yes, it is currently working in the customer base. Would that be of value? It wouldn't pick up new models, but it would tell you that you have an existing model.
Well, I think what we're trying to avoid is if the model doesn't show up, there's a reseller that think it's not supported.
Yeah, but if the tool was currently in use, right? So it would only be a part tool, maybe for you guys as ASC.
So the reason why the model number is important, because if it's not there, then essay is, you're going to get a lot of questions. So having a combination of the model number and the SDK would be great. Even if it doesn't cover everything, if it covers even 70%, that's worth it. So
You can also make it that active back in that page where you put that, for example, says your eyes. Yeah, plus select this, that's what we tell you. Like the requirement for each device, we know the requirement. You know, sometimes we don't know exactly the model, but if we haven't tested before, maybe that will give us the, process support.
I think it's important that we recognize how important this page is to you guys. The message is we are starting to change it, and we'll work with you to figure out what will work best. It's not an easy one to solve, but there are ways to make it better.
I think a comment of what Raf said, the combination of data we have, how many beds are in the field, if we can map that to the SDK version, at least then in reversing and say, well, that SDK version supported. So as long as it says that on my spec sheet, we should get that. Might be later.
Real quick, Carl, you have a question?
Yeah, just shifting gears here a little bit. How quickly can cover us support?
So hopefully Tyler's already reached out yesterday. We have a test executable for the auth.exe, a drop-in replacement to test with customers and yourselves right now.
Awesome. And NTL
being deprecated. And getting a lot of questions on the support side about what options they have, and LDAP is obviously there, but they're not always wanting to get LDAP or growth system as best option.
So if you haven't already, reach out to Tyler and he can give you access to the test plan.
I mean, when doesn't customer also test over the next couple of weeks, really easy for them to drop in and for the next unit test. So again,
That'll work on any version as well.
awesome. Brian,
We have questions again. We have strong tools for the education market like job ticketing. However, job ticketing needs other features like approval levels in the services process. The question is, will it continue to evolve with more features, or will it stay as it is?
Is that Pedro?
It's
Okay. So I think that the quick answer is it'll stay as it is today for a period of time. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, obviously, but one of our key strategies this year is to ensure that we're staying connected to our education customers through our education panel. That's to actually learn and understand what's changing, if anything is changing, what's changing in that environment. If that then warrants that, that job ticketing has a strong contender in that area and has some gaps, then we'll look to invest in it. Probably realistically, it'll probably be the second half of next year if we got to it, just based on our current strategy. But there will be a release in December, which is a bit of a fix a few bugs and known issues, clean up that it's more just incremental.
one of the features I wish we had to put in job ticketing we can't scope on was that when you move cards across the job ticketing flow, we wanted to trigger a script, just a little JavaScript script like print scripting. And many of these requests that I see coming in, like approvals or warnings or something, could be solved through that. So there is some things that we could limit. We could actually empower you guys produce services to help us solve these rather than put features in. So yeah, I think keep this feedback coming because it helps us understand how important job ticketing is for them, and it also helps us understand what the future might look like.
That's a good point. Please make sure that these are logged as feature requests, because even as little as last week, we have them all grouped. We went back and looked at for the next release what we can get ticked off. So we're always looking back at everything that's coming from customers and partners.
So, all right. So communication, we're getting better. Every organization has to work on communication. So this is not a day. But the one thing, and this has been mentioned by EcoPrintQ as well. So I'm sure us and Eco are facing this issue.
Inspiring, you're probably sending messages.
No, Chris, I'm never going to do that. But I'm sure other ASCs have this issue as well with maintenance releases. We tend to get the notes day of. And I asked, why can't we delay the release one day so that the ASCs could at least have 24 hours to review the notes and be able to communicate with their dealer channel as well? And what I have been told is that the direction is release it right away, no matter what. So that's what I've been told by different people at PaperCut. So
I'll talk about maintenance release in general. So we've worked really hard to be consistent. Prior to me coming, when I came into MF, we weren't consistent on a month-to-month basis with our maintenance releases. Sometimes we didn't do one at all. Sometimes it came on a random day. So we put processes in place. Our target is now the last Tuesday of every month. That's our goal, right? That was the first step to get that consistency, particularly around security. We wanted to make sure we could still do out of cycle, but we knew that our security teams knew what we were planning to release. We knew what our dev complete dates were, but we haven't got to the point where we're consistent enough in getting our release notes that ahead of time. We need to be better at that, right? The good news is we're actually dedicating a bit of time to this. So does everyone know Jem in our EMEA team? Yeah. So Jem's actually moving to Melbourne in October into a product owner role. So what a product owner role is for the PMOTS team is effectively in charge of both the backlog, the release process, and the connection to our support teams. So Jem's role will be threefold. One is reconnecting us back to support teams, looking for trends where we can amplify our releases. We're going to be tracking how many linked Zendesk tickets we can close in maintenance release, and we want to do our measures moving forward. But also owning the communications around maintenance releases. So not major releases, maintenance releases. And one of the goals that Gem and I have talked about is at dev complete or close enough to it, which is 2 weeks before the release, we want to have release notes done in a draft format and be sharing them with our partners. So we're fully aware that it's not ideal, but definitely one of the things we want to get better at in the next couple of months as well. So hold me to that. Hold me to that.
And it's the same with the high releases where we've got that cadence of getting it out well ahead of time, right? Which gives you an opportunity to be an active part of the development process because you're getting it at that it's key flow for all of that 80% state. So I think that is far better than release notes, right? You get your hands on it early. The other thing is, I would say is maybe I'm trying to think where you got that sentiment from. There was a period of time when we were doing security releases. When we had the state-sponsored hacker groups targeting our customer base, and we had to drive things through security for obscurity. And the advice to us was line up a day, release things, inform customers coming, but don't let anyone know outside the security team what the fix is, right? Including people within PaperCut itself. So we security policy stands, it's called need to know. And only people on the need to know list are allowed to know those details. And it's all about making sure that we don't no risk of leak out early. So because if the customer base was attacked again, fortunately we haven't had any incidents. But if it was attacked again, we need that legal protection to say we did everything by the book as a best practice approach. So that may have been something that floated through that there was times where we were not giving you guys even in terms of what the security bulletin would be or release notes, and that was the delivery strategy at the time.
Completely understand the security stuff, which I was very heavily involved with the communication out for that. And I think you guys handled it very well for the security stuff.
Definitely hold me accountable if we're not getting better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corey?
I got a question. Hive and security. It's a big thing. We get a lot of admins that are lacking in a lot of skills, and sometimes they wear a lot of hats. And we saw PaperCut, we tell them, say, hey, or Hive, we say, this is everything needs to be open, outbound, internal, but they just don't get it. Like I got a call now where they just don't get it. We've had tickets open with PaperCut. There's no data getting to the logs. Is there any talk or something that we could enable in Hive that we can run a local scan on the network like Discovery does that might tell them directions of what is not open? I mean, since this is internal to the network. That's a big thing with Hive is security and zero trust, and we spend a lot of time trying to track down this stuff. We only have a limited visibility in the network.
Yes, it's a question that's been asked a few times. I think it's something we need to look at. I think that, and I guess there are a couple of elements to this. One is setting it up in the first place, making sure the necessary ports are open to enable a successful transmission of the job across the network. With that, I think we should look at a tool, or we should look at improving the interface to alert them if there's a problem. Moving a job across the network. The other half of that is print delivery profiles will give the administrator greater visibility, greater control over how jobs transit the network as well. And it'll help them to be better informed when it comes to understanding how their network is arranged at the moment.
The big change, though, that I think with all this is at the moment, we're relying on the print job being delivered from a system somewhere into the print. We're bringing in functionality into the embedded. So over the next couple of months, we call delivery. As an internal term, it will be called cloud delivery or something external. We don't quite decide that. But it's the ability for the embedded software on the device to actually go to the job rather than waiting for it to be pushed in. So it changes the direction and adds a new option of delivery. So it'll work in a zero trust network because zero trust network, MFD can always cloud, can always get the job from the cloud. So it's going to produce another pathway to get a job delivered, which will be infinitely more reliable on zero trust networks. And ultimately, that's what our autopilot mode wants to do. Is select the best way to get the print job to that printer, the guaranteed delivery. And so that whole set of functionality job begin and be progressively across the brands. You might be able to do it on every brand, but I think that'd be a game changer for that sort of trust.
Good. So in that whole, what you call it, full
delivery. So you've got really three different forms of delivery today. You've got like mobility print, put it into the print queue and send it off to the printer, normal print flow. We want to really move away from that. It's relies on reliability drivers, etc. The preferred way to do it is you bring the job in and we send it using ACDI to the printer, which is a nice protocol. It's encrypted, but some printers big buggy. So we've also got the traditional 9100 delivery with the native driver. But they're all pushing the job to the printer. The other way we want to do is make the printer embedded software able to get the job, right? So ports don't need to be open. So it can get jobs, get the job from client system sitting somewhere on the network. So it's more about pulling the job rather than pushing.
So are we still leveraging the edge mesh and that?
So we leverage that and that we might call it bad delivery, and I'm calling it full delivery because it will work on the local network, but it will put it in the cloud.
So you would have a true infrastructure as compared to that point as well. With no information needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't watch it certain range.
Yeah. So well, it's not needed from the memory. Like it's but I thought
Something some of our competition does.
Yeah, exactly.
With
Yeah. Yeah. So the vision that we're putting forward, which will be in training and things like this, is maybe show you some screenshots, but we've got this nice delivery profile. You can see a network diagram. You've got direct printing, you've got printing via clients via the mesh, or printing to the cloud and up again. Uniflow works by sending to the cloud and up again. And that's got its advantage. It works in zero trust, but you can choose bandwidth. It's slower. And when the network internet drops, you've got reliability problems. Also got data sovereignty problems. Printer logic work by and printings work by sending the job directly to the client into the printer. Right. And it's got its advantages, it's a well-known printer, but it's got some disadvantages. The protocol setting between the printer and that not encrypted. If you start with it on your laptop and then go release the job doesn't come out. Your zero trust network, navigating zero trust network doesn't. Right. So each model that they choose has got advantages. The benefit of our new model when we have print profiles is that you'll have all the switches. No, the levers.
There's no dogs in
No. Switches, buttons. So you can choose it. So you can make it work like you do Fly. You can make it work like but why would you put a autopilot on it and let you choose best part and get the benefits of all of that? So that's a vision we're going, and super excited about having that drop in the its release, plus the delivery progressively coming across the brands that next couple months.
We've seen the movie Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, we don't talk about the end.
Don't call it edge.
Just
Fine.
big lines.
I don't see any more questions up here. I know we scheduled this for an hour and a half today. I want to respect the back-to-back, that a couple of had to step out. And I know you guys have, I think, a meeting following this with a few other folks. Anything that has to be said right now, remote or in here, you may want to bring up anything?
Thank y'all so much. Thank you for this time. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're around the office today, so those that didn't get the questions, just harass punches.
It's always good. We enjoy our time speaking to the go-to-market teams for PaperCut, but it's also great to hear great reports about on the product side. So Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for SITI having us before.
Thank you guys for logging in and listening and asking questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.